Hi guys, welcome back to our introduction to practical Python coding in eHealth tutorial for beginners, where we learn about Python coding for digital health or health informatics use. So in this tutorial, we're going to talk about loops in Python. So loops in computer coding is used when you wanted to repeatedly execute a block of code until a certain condition is met. So actually, let me show you. So I have a Jupyter notebook open. I need this notebook loops. Okay. So let's say I have a thing I want to loop over. So a typical thing I want to loop over is a list in Python. So recalling in a previous tutorial, we had built a formulary as a list of medications. Okay, so I finished building my formulary. I simply made my formulary into a list, and this list will have contained a bunch of strings. You can see I have double quotes around these words, means that they're strings. Okay, so I'm gonna run this block of code. It shouldn't do anything except it just initialize these values into the formulary. So what I want to do now is loop over this formulary and just print everything out. So I'll show you how to do that. So we can use a for loop. So for medication in formulary. Okay, note the syntax. So it's for, and I have a variable name uh, in formulary. So what this will do is that it'll take, everything in formulary and put that into the value of medication. So I can do something like print. I'm gonna format the string to medication is in formulary, like that. So what that will do here for me is that it'll loop over everything in formulary and assign that. So assign each string, individual string in the list to my medication variable. And within this for loop, anything that's indented inside the for loop, I can access the value of individual element of the array as the medication variable. And that's why I can produce this formatted string to say, say ibuprofen is in formulary or aspirin is in the formulary. So I'm going to try and run this program, Shift Enter. There we go. And you can see it's also in order. So it does that in order for us. Ibuprofen first, followed by cough syrup, and so on. So you have amoxicillin last. Remember that in our list tutorial, we accessed items within a list through its index. So for example, if I said formulary at index 0, shift enter, that's ibuprofen. That's how we accessed its list. We can also do that inside the loop. So we can say for index in range, 0 to 6. So note when I do that, it'll give me from 0 to 6, but not including 6. So I get 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. Okay, no, I don't want shift enter. I just want enter. And I'm gonna print a formatted string to say, formulary at index is in formulary, like that. Okay, so if I have an index as 0 to 6, so what this will do is that it'll run this as a loop over and over again, except in every turn of the loop, the value of index will change based on this range. So in the first time you run it, it'll take on the value of 0. So this string will produce a formulary at 0, which is ibuprofen is in formulary. And the next iteration of the loop, the value of index will take on the next number within the range, which is 1. So formulary of 1 is in the formulary, and it'll look up formulary to find what formulary of 1 is, which is cough syrup. So if I run this, shift enter, it gives me everything in the formulary again. Okay, so that's another way to run it. So normally um, if you're doing either digital health app or you want to do health analytics, you'll probably be using this more often and less of a range kind of thing. Okay, so we looked at for loop, but there's another way to loop through a list or make loops so that you want to run a block of code repeatedly, and that's called the while loop. So let's try using the while loop. Okay, so I can say while index less than or equal to 5. So what this does is that while the value of index, so we actually don't know what index is, so we have to say index equals 0, right? And within the while, I'm indenting to become within the while. I'm gonna say print formatted string of formulary index is in formulary at index equals to index. Okay, so oops. Okay, so what this will give me is that it'll look up what the formulary of index at 0 on the first iteration um, is in the formulary at index equal to 0. Okay, so I end this, and but the index is still less than or equal to 5. I want to change the value of index to 1 now. So I say index equals to index plus 1. So what this will do is that it'll increment index by 1 every time I run this block of code once, such that at some point I will know that this index will be greater than 5 and that I will not infinitely run this loop. So sometimes if you use a while loop, you have to be careful that this expression at some point should evaluate to false. And that's how you break out of the loop. Otherwise, you might get a program that's stuck within the loop. So you want to make sure at some point you want to control the loop such that you're changing the value of index in this case so that at some point it'll be greater than 5. And so it'll come out of the loop and you can complete the program. All right, so in the first iteration, my index will be 0. And the second iteration, it'll say 0 plus 1. And then assign that into the value of the new index. And so in this case, index is equal to 1, and this index will become a 1 in the second iteration of the loop, and so on. And eventually, the value of index will equal to 5, and I will look up formulary at the index of 5, which is at index of 5. So let me print out uh, the result of this code. Shift enter. You can see here ibuprofen is at formulary of index 0. So notice how we are actually visualizing the value of index on the same line where we're printing out what's on the down the list of the formulary. So formulary at 1 is index at 1. So we know what the value of index is every time we're printing the name of the drug out. Okay, so that's helpful for you to visualize, what's happening to the value of the index as we're running the loop. All right, excellent. So that concludes our loop tutorial. Thanks.